I move the resolution now be put.
Honourable Parakura Horomia.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I listened to Dave Curry. I just come back from the Olympic function. Very interesting what he said. He said we go onto the world stage and we utilise our cultural partnership. This legislation that is moved in this House tonight is one of the worst pieces of legislation in this country's history as far as I'm concerned as a Māori. It is not just about selling off the state's assets, it's the cunning little games that built into it, like removing the treaty right, the constitutional document that agrees that there's a partnership in this country. And just in case that Jerry Brownlee is short of history, I want to tell him, in 1832 a Māori carried the Olympic flag. 1832. In 1840 the other people came to this nation and they ripped the land off. And they took the land. And there was actually wars over it. No, this is the truth. There was actually wars over it. People fought and there were dastardly things done. And most Kiwis who have a natural conscience, fair people, have tried to reconciliate and go forward together. This undermines the whole ethos of that. We listened to the Minister of Finance this morning say 15 times he said, will you borrow $7 billion to buy them back? If that's all this is about, that will sell the state assets, to see if you'll pay them back when you get in, go suck on it. This is outrageous. And the Māori Party, in relation to, and my ex-Minister of Māori Affairs colleague, Chair of the Māori Affairs Select Committee, letting this rubbish go into this document in Part 1, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? This is a disgrace. The Māori people respect the treaty. You've removed it. You've removed it. It's really uncanny. Very quietly. How the hell can you have a partnership document that is sanctioned in this land, that is recognised and etched in this country's history, to only be 51% of the action? How can you do that? Pardon? Well, that's right. But it's still there, Jerry. The foreshore and seabed is still there, Jerry. And that was about protection. That was about protection, Jerry. That was about, just, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Brownlee, it is still there. These assets are going to go. They're going to go to foreigners. Yes, they are. Mr. This is about the rich pricks. This is about everybody else.
Order.
Yes, it is.
Order.
Yes, it is, Mr. Speaker.
Order.
This
No.
is a disgrace.
No, order. Order. No, that's not acceptable. I'll terminate that speech. Dr. Paul Hutchison.
Mr. Chairman, I move
The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion... Order. A point of order, Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Well, I'll wait for you to sit down. Sorry, I don't want to break the rules. Sir, I just want to bring to your attention a number of issues before you put the question. In your deliberations that you should put the question. There are a number of people on this side who have had no call at all, and you've seen the enthusiasm, I think, of all sides attempting to take the call, sir. The second thing I want to put to you, and this is no disrespect to the Greens, but because people on this side of the House have been taking many calls and people on the other side have not been taking calls, and the calls have simply bounced in many respects between Greens and Labour and to some extent New Zealand First. That has created a disproportionate...
Order. Look, I've got the order. I'm standing. Now, I have taken into consideration all the factors surrounding why the House should choose whether this is the time to terminate the debate on Part 1. I've taken all those things into consideration. It has been over 3 hours. I've very carefully tried to measure out the speaking calls to as many as I can. I have listened to the substance of the debate and its relevance. I have considered all those factors, and the question now is that the question be put.
Mr.
Now,
Chair.
I have ruled on this, Mr Cosgrove, and if the member is trifling with me, he will spend some time out of the House.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Point of order, Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
I don't wish to trifle you, and I won't trifle with you, but I think I'm entitled to make this point, sir. You will be aware that this is an extremely serious bill.
Order. The member will sit. I don't think you're raising any new material. You've had your caution. You've had your caution. The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes, party vote. The clerk will conduct the party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
14 against.
New Zealand First.
Votes opposed.
Māori Party.
3 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 vote opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
The ayes are 64, the noes are 57. The questions will now be put. We have some amendments. Members, I am guided by New Standing Order 303, particularly Part 4, which... a point of order, the Honourable Trevor.
Before you do that, I think there's an obligation for the ministers in the House for him to be in the chair,
All right.
even while you're...
The member is correct. Yeah, thank you for that. The member is correct. And so... to proceed, Standing Order 303, number 4, allows the grouping of members' amendments where it doesn't detract from the intent of the amendment. So, and according to that Standing Order, I therefore put the amendments in the name of Dr. Russell Norman to delete clauses that remove mixed ownership model companies from the coverage of the State-Owned Enterprise Act 1968, set out on SOP number 68. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Noes have it. Party vote. Clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party. New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 vote in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
The ayes are 57, the noes are 64. The amendment is not agreed to. We now come to the Honourable Trevor Mallard's amendments to remove provisions relating to Genesis Power Limited as set out on SOP number 65. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Note a party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
The ayes are 57, the noes are 64. The amendment is not agreed to. We move to the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove's amendments to remove provisions relating to Meridian Energy Limited set out on SOP number 63. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The noes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 vote in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
The ayes are 57, the noes are 64. The amendments are not agreed to. We move now to the Honourable David Parker's amendments to remove provisions relating to Mighty River Power Limited set out on SOP number 66. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. Noes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
The ayes are 57, the noes are 64. The amendment is not agreed to. We move to Dr. David Clark's amendment to remove provisions relating to Solid Energy New Zealand Limited set out on SOP number 62. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. Noes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
The ayes are 57, the noes are 64. The amendments are not agreed to. We move now to the amendments in the name of Ian Lees Galloway to delete clause 6 set out on SOP number 54. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. Noes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
The ayes are 57, the noes are 64. The amendment is not agreed to. Dr. Russell Norman's amendment to delete clause 6 set out on SOP number 67 is now out of order, inconsistent with an earlier decision of the committee. The Right Honourable Winston Peters typescript amendment to delete clause 6 out of order, inconsistent with an earlier decision of the committee. We move to Chris Hipkins' amendment to replace clause 7.2 with new subclauses 2 to 4 set out on SOP number 46. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. Noes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes opposed. In favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
The ayes are 57, the noes are 64. The amendment is not agreed to. We move to Dr. Russell Norman's amendment to delete clause 7 set out on SOP number 67. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. Noes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 opposed.
Mana.
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 opposed.
United Future.
1 opposed.
The ayes are 57, the noes are 64. The members are not agreed to. Members, at 7:33, a large number of amendments to Part 1 were lodged in the name of various members of the Labour Party. These amendments seek to alter words or the order of words contained in the part, but make no substantive change to the meaning or the amendments as provided by, or as required by Speaker's Ruling 115.5, and because these do not meet that standard, these are ruled out of order. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Chairman, I just want to seek your assurance that you have read them and that is your decision, each of those amendments.
Yes, I've certainly read them. I may well have skim-read them, but if the member would be aware, I did extend the debate for quite a period of time, not only to let me have a look at them, but to also let the staff have a look at them, and I am very confident with the ruling that I have just made. Therefore, the question is that...
Point of order.
Point of order, Chris Hipkins.
Can I just check, Mr Speaker, that it was 115/5 that you were referring to in the Speaker's ruling?
I think I quoted that correctly.
115/5 talks about the need for amendments to be drafted with some precision. I think you'll find that our amendments were drafted with some precision, in a form of words that may be embodied in the law, and I think you'll find they meet that criteria. Yeah. It must offer a serious alternative form of words. I think you'll find they meet that criteria.
No, they do not.
And an amendment that is merely an attempt to criticise the provision will not be acceptable. They don't do that. So they meet the criteria.
My ruling is essentially on the basis that they don't offer a serious alternative form of words. No, it is my ruling that they don't. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Chairman, these amendments have been very carefully drafted. A lot of them make a lot more sense, and in fact are better drafting. I don't think it is on for the Chair to say drafting improvements are not serious alternatives. These in each case, sometimes minor, sometimes more significant, make a difference to the meaning, Mr Chairman, and I now want to ask you whether, in fact, as you've looked at the amendments, you have also looked at the bill and seen the changes which occur for each of these.
I have made a ruling, and I am standing by that ruling. These amendments that were tabled at 7:33 are out of order. The question is that... A point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Chairman, are you saying they're out of order or they're to be grouped? Are you saying that the opposition can't even offer a drafting amendment to a bill and get a vote on it? Mr Chairman, that would just be an absolute outrage. If you are ruling that, sir, that is where there is a realistic change, a significant change, albeit minor, Mr Chairman, and this House is not allowed to vote on it. That would be the first time, Mr Chairman, that I've ever heard anything like that in the House. And doing it in this legislation, Mr Chairman, makes it worse still.
It is my ruling that they do not offer a serious alternative to the words contained in the bill. Therefore, I shall put
point
part
of order,
one.
Mr Chairman.
A point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Chairman, on the point of order, I move that the Speaker be recalled for him to rule on the question of whether every single one of these amendments, every single one of them, and we can work our way through them, do fall into the category that you have ruled.
Question is that the Speaker be recalled. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The Speaker will be recalled. Can I have